Welcome to Morning Devotion with Ken Gurley. Devotions designed to inspire you on your daily walk with God. Here's your host, Ken Gurley.
Hey, good morning, everyone. This Friday morning, welcome to each and all of you. Still in Indianapolis, still kind of struggling. The conference is great. It's wonderful. Great crowds. Great to see so many of our morning devotion family right here in Indianapolis. It's good to see you. Just having some technical issues, primarily light issues. I need some light. We are children of the light. Anyway, I'm happy you're here and thankful for what God is doing in our midst and seeing great things, hearing great testimonies, and seeing some record offerings and things set aside and prioritized. And it's encouraging. It's really encouraging. Today, what a great devotion today. This is one just to marinate on through the weekend. Release the offense, how to set yourself free. So this Friday morning, I welcome you. And I'm on the road and I'm doing some really weird, crazy things. Technically, I can't see you. I think I'm recording this. I don't know if I'm recording this. We're just having a great time. I hope you're out there and I hope you enjoy this. Share this with others. It is a pleasure to be a part of this great family and to tag in each and every weekday at 7 o'clock. And it means something. Like the page, share the page, follow the page, subscribe. We are a big announcement here. It's kind of a fun announcement toward the end. I'll share with you of what's happening. So stay tuned to the end of this and let's see what God has for us. Release the offense, how to set yourself free. Jesus, none other than Jesus Christ. Luke 17:1, he said to his disciples, it's impossible, but that offenses will come. You shall be offended. Yes. Now, granted, there are some people, they just go looking for offenses. Do you know any of those? Don't point them out if they're on morning devotion right now. They just seem to go out of their way to get slapped upside the head. I mean, they look to be offended about things. I'm not talking about those folks. I'm talking about ordinary people, me and you. It's been said that only two things in life are certain, death and taxes, but let me add a third. Sooner or later, you're going to be offended. Somebody's going to hurt you. God made you and me in his image. One of the meanings of that is he made us with emotions. He made us with feelings. We're not a robot. We're not an avatar. We don't just walk around behind a mask all the time, although we've been doing a lot of that lately. There's a real you, and you can be hurt, and you can be disappointed. You can be discouraged. Your feelings can be hurt. You can be offended. One translation of Luke 17:1 says, there will be things that cause you to stumble. Yes, they're bound to come. There'll be rocks in your path, things that go bump in the night, people that will say things and do things that hurt you, or people who will forget to say things and forget to do the right things that will hurt you. Look at the life of our apostle, the 13th apostle that Jesus chose. You know, after Judas betrayed the Lord, the early church chose Matthias, but we don't hear much about Matthias, if anything, for the rest of the New Testament. But early in the book of Acts, the risen Lord appears to Paul on the Damascus road and calls him. This seems to be the 13th apostle, a man born out of season, a man who was chosen and then told, I will show you how much you will suffer for my name's sake. Whoopee, wouldn't you love to be called just like that? I've got to work for you. You're going to hurt. Oh man, this was our apostle, the apostle to the Gentiles, stoned, beaten, left for dead, nights in the deep. Was he wounded? Sure he was. Not just physically, but emotionally. His reputation suffered. His name was attacked by friend and by foe. It's the last book that he wrote. Death was imminent, just at hand. He had just said, I finished my course. Yeah. But then he looks back over his life and he says something that's so very curious. 2 Timothy 4:14, Paul said, Alexander the coppersmith did me much harm. Now, I could go on and say that Paul finished the thought by saying, notwithstanding the Lord stood with me against, O Alexander, but just Let that phrase dangle in thin air for a moment. Alexander the coppersmith did me much harm. That phrasing in the Greek for much harm or much evil means something that was repetitive, something that was continuous. It happened over and over. Whatever Alexander the coppersmith did to Paul, it was no light thing. It was no incidental thing. It was not one accidental thing. It was deeply hurtful, and then it was repeated over and over again. It was a hurt that had long-term, hurtful consequences. It must have, because here he is. Paul's at the end of his life, proclaiming that there's a crown of life laid up for him, and miles and years away from that offense, he remembers it. And what happened to Paul is going to happen to you. Maybe not Alexander the coppersmith. The names are going to change, but offenders are out there. People will say hurtful things about you. They will exclude you when you want to be included. They will include you when you'd rather be excluded. They'll close the door in your face. They'll tell you 1,001 ways that you don't measure up, that you're not good enough. You don't fit in. You're not part of the in club. Jesus said in Matthew 18, woe unto the world because of offenses. Then he said it must needs be that offenses come. They're going to happen. It must needs be that they come. But then he gives fair warning to offenders, to those one-person wrecking crews who have nothing better to do, it seems, than to go around and hurt people. And when he says it must needs be that offenses come, it's going to be inevitable. It's going to happen. One translation said it's necessary that offenses come. Why? Why must I be hurt? Why? Now, I will say that Jesus would go on to say, but woe to the man from whom offenses came. It'd be better if a millstone was tied around his neck. But he said offenses must needs come. Why? I could quickly say that offenses are just part of the man's sin in the garden, but boy, that's thin sunshine for an explanation. We could say everything bad in the world happened because of the fall in the garden, but there's no comfort in that. Let me give you a few insights into your pain. Why must we hurt and what hurt does for us? When we hurt, we turn to God. Man's pain is God's invitation. When you read the ministry description of Jesus in Luke 4, and he came to minister to the bruised, the broken, the battered, the downhearted, read the Beatitudes. Blessed are those that mourn and are afflicted. We are born with a glass heart that can be easily broken. Shards of pain invite the healer into our midst. Oh my, I love that. Those wounds, those hurts, those offenses, those feelings of inferiority, that sense of rejection, that sense of shame, it gives God permission to move. It's as old as the first chapter, the oldest book of the Bible, when God moved on the face of the deep. In darkness, God moves. And in our darkness, our struggles, our pain invites God. Let me give you another thing. Another reason hurt must come. When we hurt, we grow. Our example of the Apostle Paul is the more he hurt, the more opportunity for ministry experience. Wounds became a mark of his maturity. Despised, hated by his brethren, Joseph was sold into Egyptian slavery, but 21 years later, tears poured down Joseph's face. And he says, what you meant for evil, God worked for good. Wounds give God permission to not only work in us, but to help us grow. Here's another one. This is why offenses must needs come. Why must they come? Because when we hurt, we become like Jesus. Jesus warned his disciples they're going to suffer for him. They'll be persecuted. They'll be hounded from city to city. In Luke 6, he said, the disciple's not above his master, and everyone that is perfect shall be as his master. And wasn't Jesus hurt? Sure he was. And so will we. Wasn't he wounded for our transgressions, bruised for our iniquities? Wasn't he beaten, walking wounded up a hill to called Calvary? We're no better than our master. Wasn't he spat upon, forsaken, rejected? Isaiah asked the question of the suffering Messiah, that who shall declare his generation? Who will be like Jesus? Who is willing to be hurt that Christ may be formed in you? Who is willing to be hurt so that people can see Jesus in you. It's in that same passage of Isaiah we read that he opened not his mouth. He was silent in the midst of his suffering. And this is where I believe God speaks to us today. And can I help somebody this morning? Morning Voice and Crowd, can I help you this morning? Solomon said that a brother offended is like a walled city behind bars. Who's trapped here? The offender or the offended one? The one offended is like a closed up city. Offense blocks you and me from life. Offense binds us. Yes, it blinds us to the joy around us. We surround ourselves with the thin blankets of self-pity. We garner support from those who have been offended as well, but surely there's a better way. And there is a way to release your offenses and to set yourself free. And it's the way of Christ. And can I give you these 3 ways? First of all, never respond in kind. They cursed Jesus. He opened not his mouth. They attacked him. He didn't attack back. He could have called 12 legions of angels, but he didn't respond in kind. He could have brought a gun to the knife fight. He didn't do that. But you say, I know Jesus. Pastor, I know Jesus. And that's the problem, isn't it? We operate so much in the flesh, but not in the spirit. We are not carnal. We are carnally minded, not spiritually minded. Don't be tempted to pick up carnal weapons against the person that offends you. No. Be careful. Here's the second thing. Overlook the offense. Proverbs 19:11 says, the discretion of a man deferreth his anger, and it is his glory to pass over a transgression. The English Standard Version says it like this: good sense. Oh man. Good sense makes one slow to anger, and it's his glory to overlook an offense. Yeah. A certain breed of people rise to the top by who they can put down. We're living in a mean, sarcastic, cynical, incredibly angry world. You can't stop what people say about you, but you can overlook the offense. Don't respond in kind and overlook the offense. These are 2 ways to set yourself free. This is the way of Christ, but it's not just overlooking and it's not just retaliating. It goes beyond that. It goes into the realm of forgiveness, because there is no freedom like that of forgiveness. We are like Christ when we pray, Father, forgive them. This is it. The 3rd way. Yes, don't respond in kind. Overlook the offense. 3rd, forgive those who hurt you. It's hard for us. It's hard. But if we could ever learn it, it would be one of the sweetest benefits we could ever learn. We forgive because we've been forgiven. And those who have been forgiven much, love much. And we love because he first loved us. You and I can identify with those titans of early American industry. Cornelius Vanderbilt took a $100 bill his mother gave him, and was the first man in America to build a fortune of more than $100 million. And built his fortune in the shipping industry, later the railroads. One of his 2 partners double-crossed him. Cornelius Vanderbilt went into a towering rage, and he uttered this often quoted blast. He told his partners, you've undertaken to cheat me. I'm not going to sue you. The law is too slow. Instead, I will ruin you. Yeah, that's what Vanderbilt said. And that's pretty much a worldly reaction to things. I will ruin you. You hurt me, I will hurt you. Eye for eye, tooth for tooth. But Paul, who had been hurt so much, said this in Romans 12. If it be possible, as much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men. Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath. For it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord. And verse 20 says, therefore, if thine enemy hunger, feed him. If he thirst, give him drink. For in so doing thou shalt heap coals of fire on his head. Be not overcome of evil. Here's a winning strategy. But overcome evil with good. You may say, they were wrong. I have a right to be offended. I have a right. You know, we really gave up our rights when we started following Jesus. When the Lord forgave us of so much, yes, then we don't really have a right to hold things against other people. Didn't Jesus say, love your enemies? Doesn't his word tell you to give up your claims and your rights, Philippians 2? And amongst the church family, didn't Paul tell us to be kind to one another, tenderhearted, forgiving one another, just as Jesus forgave you? To forgive, that's to give up a claim. To forgive is to cease bearing resentment. Why should I do it? Because Jesus forgave us. And it's poisoning you and imprisoning you and not the person who hurt you when you refuse to forgive. I'm convinced that life is 10% of what happens to us and 90% of how we react to it. People become embittered when they dwell on the wrong others have done to them. Paul teaches us to forgive, to forget, to quit rewinding the tape and playing it over and over again. Let it go. Let the healing come. Release the offense. Set yourself free. Let people who love you back into your life. Let the poison and the anger flow from you. Jesus taught that if someone offends us, we should forgive them over and over. We should forgive them so long as they seek forgiveness. Forgive them. But I would say even if they don't seek forgiveness, you forgive them and put them in the hands of the Lord. I know this sounds impossible. In fact, when you read on in Luke 17, you're going to find the disciples say, increase our faith, Lord. You've got to increase our faith. Yeah. But the only way to be released from the shackles of the past is to forgive the people who hurt you. It's imperative because forgiveness not only heals your memory, it changes your present perspective. It's like cutting a malignant tumor out of your inner body. It's like being a prisoner and the prison bars are opened and the chains and shackles fall off of you. It's also the way to break the cycle of blame in a relationship. And without forgiveness, that cycle goes on and on and on. The way we forgive others is by remembering that God is working through their actions. Even the way they hurt us, God is working for good. So no wonder Solomon said, great peace have them that love thy law. That's what we need. And they won't be offended in anything. It doesn't come from coping. It comes from God when we follow the way of Christ. I can't forgive. I can't forgive, Pastor. Well, you're right and you're wrong. In yourself, you're right that you can't forgive, but you're wrong because you can do all things through Christ. And through him, you can release the offense and you can set yourself free. Oh, praise God. Oh, praise God. I feel that. I feel that. Okay, the big announcement. I've been mentioning it this week. A year from now, the end of October, early November in 2022, we're doing a Holy Land trip, 7 days in the Holy Land. And then we will get to northern Israel on the Mediterranean coast, and we'll get on a cruise ship and do 7 days across the Mediterranean to see some of the ancient sites of the world. It's going to be a great time, and it's relatively economical, and hopefully all this pandemic stuff will be past, and we'll all enjoy that time together, being in some special places together. Here's the big announcement. The big announcement is we are through finishing the first 55 passenger bus, and we're already deep into the second bus right now. We really don't want to do more than 2 buses when we're in the Holy Land. So if you want to go, and if you want to be a part, I urge you to reach out to Brother JamesL.Bailey. His email address is in either the outside of this devotion or previous devotions. You'll find it. Emailing. The whole payment's not needed now, but a deposit is. If you, your family, your friends want to go, we're just opening this up to our morning devotion family, and we're just going to go have a great time in the Lord and see one another and be in the Holy Land and see some special sights together. So you're invited to be a part of that, and I hope you can. Let me put up the little graphic here. So this is the Holy Land Cruise, and Holy Land and cruise, and we're going to have a great time together, and I hope you can be a part of it. Come and join with us in this time. So God bless you. I look forward to seeing you again early next week, and may the Lord be with you.
Thank you for listening to Morning Devotion with Ken Gurley. Join us next time for another inspiring devotion. To support this ministry, please visit firstchurch.com/give.